So, how do you even review something like the Barbie movie? This is probably my 30th time starting this review, but in the words of the late, the great Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live. So, the Barbie movie, at its core, it's kind of so fundamentally anti-woman and has such a negative, like, if that is the self-image that women have of themselves, then I feel really bad for them, because the whole way I'm like watching this film and I'm like, there's like women ranting about how they can't live in a society, how nothing makes them happy, how they can't compete at all, how like they live in like a schizophrenic delusional world where like things that that objective reality is like the patriarchy and stuff like that. It just feels like a combination of a massive cope, self-hatred, and narcissism kind of mixed together into this weird three-headed chimera that really just made me feel uncomfortable for a lot of the film. So let's just maybe try to like just get into the plot. So the film opens in Barbie land, and the film says how like Barbie was once a symbol of like patriarchy and oppression because she was just this really hot blonde girl, and we can't let women look at attractive people, because if you look at attractive people, then bad thing, you want to be like them, and we can't have anybody striving for anything in life. So in order to deal with that and to deal with the fact that women, the film posits, this isn't me, can't achieve things, we have to create like all these different Barbies, like corporate Barbie, space woman Barbie, President Barbie, Supreme Court Barbie, so women can live out the fantasies of things they're physically incapable of achieving in the real world. And this film posits that like there's a part where they say there's never been a female Supreme Court justice. There's a part where they say like women can't vote, like the Constitution prevents women from voting. The view that they present of how society views women would make a Saudi Arabian blush. And this is the way that they see the world. And that like Barbie exists like so that women can escape from the fact that they suck. And that like it's depressing. It's actually, I'm kind of feeling sad like even talking about this. But anyway, so it takes place in Barbie land. You have all the different Barbies. It's this matriarchal paradise where everything's perfect, where every single position is held by a woman. And the film tells us this is just like how real life works. In real life, men hold every single position. Every single member of the Supreme Court is a man. Every single elected representative is a man. Every single board member of every corporate board is male. That's how society works. That's, if you live in a society, that's how it is. And the Kens in Barbie land are these effeminate little C-slur incels who exist solely for the pleasure of Barbie. Like, their entire sense of self-worth is whether or not Barbie looks at them. And if Barbie doesn't look at them, they have no value as human beings, and they're just discarded and treated like garbage. And once again, this is like, the film is clearly portraying this as how women view themselves. That women view their role in our current society, after feminism, after the social revolution, after abortion, after no-fault divorce, after affirmative action, after in many cases where you have companies that are majority female management, they feel that their role in our society is that they're just there, and the only sense of self-worth they have is if like a man talks to them. And that is a really fucked up way to look at the world. I mean, once again, if that's how women see themselves, then like, what was the point of all of this? What was the point of the social revolution? Like, if anything, it sounds like incomparably worse to how women were before it. But that's the way that this world works, and it posits that this is exactly how our world works, but in reverse. So, and once again, this gets to the whole issue, like, once you really start to think about it. Okay, if we live in a society where women are subhuman and women control so many different positions of power, then I guess it's just that women are evil. That, like, and later on they go, like, they argue that in a state of nature, patriarchy is the natural form that a society takes, and, like, the most extreme form of patriarchy is the natural form that a society takes, and that the only way to get past that is with massive brainwashing and living in a totalitarian police state. But I'm getting completely off topic here, sorry guys. Okay, so they live in this perfect world. Bad things start to happen though when Margot Robbie, who plays stereotypical Barbie, starts to have thoughts about death. And strange Barbie tells her that she has to go to the real world to find the woman who, or to find the girl who's playing with her, so that she can get them to make her go back to being normal Barbie and not like flawed Barbie. And like flawed Barbie has like cellulite and thinks about death. The whole death thing is interesting because it's like, once again, it's just a massive cope. It's like we live in a post-religious society. We can't talk about God. We can't talk about an afterlife anymore. So it's just basically the message is life is shit and then you die. And that's kind of the uplifting message we get. It's like, you just, life shit then you die. There's no beatific vision, there's no salvation, there's nothing. And Barbie's like, I want to become a human so I can die. And I'm like, why? But anyway, so she goes to the real world and she finds this like Hispanic girl. Now this is something I hate in movies, where the kid, like the race of the kid is somehow like different than the parents, because like the father's white and the mother's Hispanic, but the daughter is like more mestizo than the mother, and I don't get how that works, unless she had an affair, which given this movie she probably did. They treat the father like a complete like pile of worthless shit. But they find her, and the girl who she thinks owns her real world version of Barbie, and the girl just screams at her and says, you set feminism back 50 years, you're a fascist. I would like to see like how an explanation of how like the doctrine of fascism applies to Barbie, but we're not going to get that. It's just a generic insult, so that's fine. And then corporatism's bad is this, oh, corporatism's bad. And like obviously if you look at any of these people, their entire like worldview and like sense of self is made up of like buying alt hipster or piece of shit brands and buying like whatever the most recent flag or symbol or wristband is the week. Their entire life is based on consumerism, because if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in fulfillment through things like having children or getting married or anything like that, then what's left other than just being a consumer? There really isn't. So she calls Barbie a fascist. They take her back to Mattel. The entire board of Mattel is actually male. There was a female at some point in the past, which overrides the narrative that there was, whatever. Mattel's this evil company made up of the patriarchy, who are like fake male feminists. Yeah, Mattel is fake male feminists is the message that we get from this film. So she gets taken there, and they're like gonna put her in a box, and if they put her in a box, that's gonna reset the world or something, because stuff happening in Barbie Land means that our world is gonna be affected or something. And Ken goes with her, and Ken finds out that like there's an option other than just being a massive cuck and an incel, that he can actually grow some balls and stand up for himself. And that was honestly the best part of the movie, was Ken coming to like the real world, and people like said hi to him and didn't treat him like he was below a pet, like he was below an insect. Which, once again, this is the view that people think, that the creators of this movie think that men in our society view women that way. I don't know if women were treated that way in any society. If you like read anything about like any previous era, generally speaking, men love their wives. Like the fact that they're willing to kill people who insult them, and they love their wives, they love their kids, and they value them deeply. Like the idea that like no man ever listened to a woman or took their advice or valued them prior to like 1980 is just retarded. It's just not like reality. But so Ken comes across that. He comes across like masculinity. He becomes obsessed with horses, and stuff like that. And he gets like this book on how to construct a patriarchy. I'm not even joking. It's something like that. And it's like, our world is a patriarchy. And he's like, I want a job just because I'm a man. And they're like, no, because you don't have qualifications. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to Barbie land, and I'm going to teach them about the patriarchy. And then it turns out that like Barbie, the person who was playing with Barbie wasn't the daughter, it was actually the mother, who is an empowered woman who works a shitty like 9-to-5 corporate job, making PowerPoint presentations and filling in spreadsheets, and she thinks that her life sucks, because she achieved basically the dream, like the feminist dream, and it's not nice. So she had decided she wanted to make like realistic Barbie, which had like cellulite and was depressed and neurotic. So Ken goes back to Barbie land, and he introduces the concept of patriarchy, and fascinatingly it immediately takes on, and everybody's happy. The women are happier under it, the men are happier under it. The society seems to be like, people just seem a lot happier. And it's kind of implied that, okay, so the natural state of our society is that, and their society is that. And the only reason it wasn't the case was because of like extreme amounts of indoctrination, people having no free will, and people living kind of like this miserable existence, subjugating one gender to living a miserable existence. And it's like, based? Is that the point that they're trying to get across? That in an absence, like in a state of nature, gender roles exist and people are generally speaking happy with them? And once again, like the degree to which this views like whatever patriarchy means is like something that would make a Saudi Arabian blush. It's like the most extreme, retarded thing that never existed anywhere. Once again, though, this movie posits that no woman has ever been a Supreme Court judge. No woman has ever sat on a corporate board. Like, it's just, women exist in our society only for men to occasionally pay attention to, is the thesis that we're dealing with here. So everybody likes that. So Barbie goes back and she takes the mother and daughter with her, and the mother gives, I think, the defining speech of the movie, where she basically goes on for like 5 minutes about how women suck and they can't live in a society because they can't deal with ambiguity, they can't deal with give and take, they can't deal with subtlety, they can't deal with basically interacting with any other person, especially other women. And so reality itself is a form of patriarchy because women can't live in a society. So her yelling about that undoes the brainwashing, even though it's kind of a form of brainwashing. So what they wind up doing is they kidnap all the Barbies and like take them away in a van, and then like just hit them with propaganda until they become feminist again. So once again, the movie posits that it takes extreme amounts of social conditioning to have this like 100% matriarchal society, and then it becomes a patriarchal society in a natural state, and then it takes basically the police state kidnapping people and brainwashing them in order for it to go back the way it came. And basically the Barbies, like, they're all back. The Kens were going to pass a constitutional amendment because they're a liberal democracy for some reason that would have turned it into Kendom. Haha, it's like femdom, get it? And only give Kens the right to vote. They convinced the Kens to fight each other, basically by being massive whores. They're like, we're going to pretend that we care about them and that we feel affection for another human being and not just spite. And then when they actually feel happy and loved by a woman, we're going to immediately abandon them and go start trying to have sex with like some other dude. And it's going to make them upset and jealous. And then the Kens just start fighting each other for some reason. I don't know why. And it's like, that's how patriarchy works, is if your woman acts up, you go and fight another man. That's how it works. You don't put her in line, you don't do anything like that. No, it's like, so what the film is positing is adultery is the way that women destroy men's egos and reduce them to a slave state. So you have to femdom them, you have to femdom and find them. Findom? I don't know. Findom and femdom just sound too similar to me. You got to do that. You have to reduce men to this subservient, subhuman state. And that's how you build a society. Ken has this big breakdown because Barbie doesn't love him and will never love him. And it's just a massive cock tease. And he basically cries, and then he decides that, like, his purpose, I don't even know. So then Barbie decides that she's going to become human, and they introduce real life Barbie, and then the film ends. And that's the movie. That's the movie. That's the Barbie movie. It's basically a movie about how we have to cope so hard for the fact, because it's basically like they go on and on about how miserable women are, how stressed they are, how unhappy they are, how their role in society is shit, and to try to like cope for the fact that it's the social revolution that caused them to be so unhappy. They have to like pretend our society exists in this like bizarre state that didn't exist even like in the 8th century, not even like during Roman times. They have to posit that it's like that, and the reason they're not happy is because they live in the most extreme form of patriarchy possible. And that the other issue is they have to deal with things like social norms and dealing with other human beings and social situations, basically living in a society. Basically that living in a society is inherently a form of patriarchy, and it's unfair that women should have to interact with other human beings. And it's just like a massive self-own. The whole film is just a massive self-own. And it's fucking depressing. If that's really how like women see themselves, then I don't know, I just feel really bad for them. I'm not even angry, I'm just kind of sad. It made me want to go home and just eat like ice cream or something and watch Pride and Prejudice, the BBC Pride and Prejudice, which it made fun of, which I don't get why it made fun of, because that was like one of the best miniseries of all time, but I don't know. So that is the Barbie movie review. As rambling and incoherent as the film was. Would I say go see the film? No, don't go see the film. It's just it's just lame. It's just not good. It's just basically like, if you want to see like an hour and 40 minutes of women just complaining about how shitty their lives are and how much they suck, then go see this movie. If you don't, I don't know, go see Oppenheimer or Mission Impossible or something.